hosting?
Should have presenter privileges now.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Are you able to see FactSet now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, what I'll do is, before I sort of dive into the actual product, I just want to review quickly, because I know there's been some questions about, you know, the different versions of FactSet and how we set up our academic license, what you guys will be using, and then just to clarify before I kind of jump in. So what we have is we have our FactSet, what we call installed version, and that's what you see on the screen right now. So the FactSet installed version is going to be what you actually download onto your computer, and this is going to include access to the Excel add-in, which essentially is what you would use if you want to do any type of coding. So being able to pull the data directly into Excel through codes. So what we do is we give the installed version this sort of access to professors, librarians, and you know, any faculty or library ID. What we do is we give students access to what we call FactSet Connect as well as FactSet Web. FactSet Connect is going to look the exact same way that the installed version does. The only difference is going to be that it doesn't have access to that Excel add-in. FactSet Connect doesn't have to be downloaded. It actually is through a Citrix environment. So the reason someone would use FactSet Connect, for example, is if they have a Mac, because our software is not allowed to be downloaded on a Mac. So that's the reason that we do offer FactSet Connect. So if you as a professor had a Mac, for example, you could use FactSet Connect. If you have Dell, you could download the normal FactSet installed version right onto your computer. And then lastly, everybody has access to FactSet Web. And I'll just show you what that's going to look like. That's going to look like this, so it looks a little bit different. All students, faculty, everybody has access to the web version, and this is going to be, you know, accessed right in a, you know, either Internet Explorer or Google Chrome, just by going to the website. Does that help clarify the difference sort of between the different versions?
Yes, thank you, Emily.
Okay.
And David and Liz confirmed that most students will not be using an installed version. They'll be using just the web version.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, most schools that we run with don't have any students have a need for the installed version, so it's never really an issue. Obviously, if anything comes up, by all means, just email Kira or I, and we're happy to help out. All right, so with that, I will give a little bit of an overview of FactSet itself. What's the familiarity level? Pretty beginner stage still, or?
Probably beginner for me.
Beginners for us, but David and Liz have both used it, right?
I haven't used it as much as David. David's a little more familiar. But,
okay.
You know, if you start from the beginning, you know, because we're going to have to be teaching it to our students, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll run over some of the most commonly used tabs I'll attach some examples of where I work with professors or I see professors using FactSet in their courses. And if you do have questions, definitely feel free to ask.
And Emily, so what, the web version?
Do you have a I can demo on either. Do you have a preference? I mean, your students will probably be using web the most.
Yeah, let's do the web one. That's what the students are going to be using.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sure.
Great.
Sure,
Thank
no
you.
problem. Yeah. So in the web, it looks very similar to our installed version with these tabs along the top here. Basically, different tabs, you can click in and find different types of information. One of the, probably the differences between web versus the installed is you'll see in the installed version, we have the Learning Portal is the first tab on there. And that's where you can find the e-learnings and all the resources. In the web, you'll see that isn't a tab. It's actually a different website, which is learn.factset.com. So that's the only kind of thing to note, is just that there is a separate link for those e-learnings. So, you know, you can just provide that to your students. It's learn.factset.com, and it looks the exact same. In here we have, if you come over here to our catalog along the left-hand side, you'll see the very first tab here is academics. So, you know, in here we have lots of different academic trainings, you know, covering the most commonly used tabs and data sets that students can access or you can use as well. So that's going to be our learning portal. Now going back to FactSet itself, I do want to point out an additional resource that you have. Is going to be this question mark icon here. Along the left here we have this little toolbar. This question mark along the bottom here, if you click that, you'll see a couple additional features. We have this help, and you'll see this launches us into Online Assistant. Online Assistant is going to be FactSet's encyclopedia. So basically, instead of e-learnings, it's going to just be textual, and it's going to allow you to search anything you want to find out more information on. So perhaps you wanted to do a project on universal screening, and you wanted to learn some more functionality. You could come up here and type in universal screening, and then you'll see a whole bunch of links will populate, and you can, read more and find, quick answers or whatever you'd like. We also have, when I clicked that question mark, we also have this Contact Us button. What this is going to do is going to provide you the number to our support desk. What we do is we allow professors, librarians, faculty to call our support desk. It's 24/7. With any question you have, someone will be more than happy to assist. If you want, to ask where to find something or help with, maybe setting up a screen in universal screening, anything like that, we encourage you. We're more than happy to help. As far as students, we do limit the support desk really just to technical issues, if they didn't get a passcode or anything like that. And that's really just to lessen the burden on you guys. We don't want, them coming to you guys saying, I didn't get my passcode. That's not for you guys to deal with. Absolutely just send them to our support desk, and someone will be able to assist them. So those are really the three forms of, assistance. We have the e-learnings, we have the Online Assistant, which is going to be the encyclopedia, and then our support desk. So those are three great places to start when you're sort of looking to get help. I would say if you want to set up a time to walk through a syllabus, to the faculty on the line, I'm more than happy to help you with a little bit more specifics as to how you can integrate FactSet into your specific curriculum. That's something that I would help you with, and I do that with professors all the time. So if you're interested in that, absolutely feel free to email me after the call. All right, so now that we've covered some of the resources, I will kind of jump into some of the tabs we have here. Our first tab here is today's top news. FactSet News is powered by StreetAccount. StreetAccount is our proprietary news source. Their main goal is to cut the noise out of the news, so they write in very succinct bullet point forms. So you'll see in the upper left-hand corner we have a synopsis, what's going on for the day. We have, top stories and most read web stories. We find StreetAccount to be very popular among students because, well, sometimes students don't like to read a lot, so it's quick and easy for them to come in and kind of get the main points of what's going on for the day. And over here you'll see we have this blank spot for portfolio news. So this is where you could either, if you had a specific portfolio or just a watch list, basically just a group of tickers that you follow, you could load that in here. And I'll show you how we can set something up like that in a little bit. So this is today's top news. Now I'm going to switch into markets. So you've come in, maybe, gotten a synopsis of what's going on in the news, and you want to see what's sort of driving the market for the day. So if you come into this markets tab, you'll see we have a bunch of different reports along the left-hand side. We have them all broken out by asset class. So you'll see right now we're in the overview. This is going to give us some top-level information on commodities, currency matrix, yield curve, and fixed income metrics. That being said, as we expand these headings along the left over here, we'll see we have a lot more reports that are specific to that asset class. So if I come into equities, for example, and I click on indices, you'll see we're going to get a full list of the major indices and how they're doing. So we not only have, last price and the change for the day, but we can also look at metrics like, 6-month change or, 3-month change, anything like that. We also have, and again, this is going to be global in scope. So everything I'm showing, whether it's the markets tab or the company security, our coverage is global. So you'll see here we have, different indices grouped by continent. In addition, you can work your way down and check out some different reports, something like the government yields, for example. You can come in here. Something that's universal throughout FactSet is when you want to make a settings change, or if you wanted to adjust, for example, in this report, what country we're looking at, it's always going to be located along the top here. So we'll have some drop-down arrows, and that will allow you to change the setting for that report if it's allowed. So for example, this report we're looking at the United States, but you could easily come up here and change that to a different country by clicking on that drop-down. Perfect. In addition, what we can do, I just want to point out as well, is wherever you see a hyperlink on FactSet, that's going to indicate more information. So it's going to depend on what type of hyperlink or where you're looking, but it always will mean more information. So here, for example, you can see because I clicked on the 10-year yield, we can see that that's now graphically represented to us. Sometimes more information will mean, a description or maybe the underlying code, but it is universal that hyperlinks will always mean more.
No, no.
Is there a question, or are we all set? Oh.
Tell you what, I will mute the participants for the moment.
Okay. Oh, can I?
But if you have the question, yeah, just raise your hand or type in the chat box, and we'll turn you back on.
All right, perfect. Let me just open that. Awesome. Something else that's universal throughout FactSet is if you want to download something, it's always going to be with this green downward-facing arrow up here in the upper right-hand corner. So wherever you see that, that means you're able to download the report that you're looking at. So you simply press the green downward facing arrow, and you'll see you could download it. You have two different options in this case. Do you want it as a spreadsheet or a PDF? So we could say PDF, and that will go ahead and download. So students will be able to download, directly from FactSet via the web. You don't need the Excel add-in to be able to download. All students will be able to do that on their own. Perfect. So again, you can jump into these different types of reports to see, we have a lot of information on derivatives, and, we have futures, we have information on ETF fund flows, currency matrix. Basically, you'll just expand the left-hand category and investigate some of the reports. So that's kind of looking at the market from a bird's eye view. What we want to do now is jump into a single security, and that's going to be in the Company Security tab. The Company Security tab is going to be our one-stop shop for in-depth security analysis for either an equity, a bond, a mutual fund, or an ETF. So it's not just for equities, it's for any one of those securities that I just mentioned. In the upper left-hand corner, we can go ahead and type in our identifier. So we do have type ahead, so if you don't know the ticker or the QSIP in any case, you can just start typing, and you'll see you'll be able to click. I've pulled up Boeing here, and very similarly to our markets, we have the Markets tab. We have all the reports along the left-hand side have now generated. This time, they're not broken out by asset class. They're going to be broken out by category. So we have, right now we're in the overviews. We're in the snapshot report. This is going to be, your top level, almost like a tear sheet for the company, giving you price, performance metrics, top line estimates, sales metrics, some key statistics. This is very top, high level. And then as you expand along the left-hand side of these categories, you'll see we dive deeper into all of these metrics. So whether that be a financial or an estimate, we're going to dive deeper. Again, you'll notice we do have these green downward-facing arrows that I mentioned, and that again is going to allow you to download. So in this case, we could download the key statistics only, or we have the option in the very upper right-hand corner to download the entire tear sheet as a whole. So I'm going to jump into some of the reports that I see students using the most and faculty integrating into their coursework the most. Something that is used a lot is this comps report. This comps report allows you to compare the company that you're looking at to its peers. It's a really nice, flexible report, very easy for students to use and understand. You'll see here, again, remember that I mentioned those drop-down arrows if we wanted to change the settings. So, for example, right now we're showing 5 competitors or peers, but we could change that to, say, 15, for example, and blast that out. Something else that's nice is, say there's not a competitor or a peer that you deem as important and you wanted to add to this list. It's manipulative, and you can just click Add Comps and simply type in the company that you wanted to compare Boeing to in this case, and it will add. We're looking at different, a lot of times we'll get the question, this is helpful, we're looking at different financial metrics, but what about something like performance? So we do have the ability to change that. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see we're looking at financials, but we could change to performance. And what this is going to do is change all the columns, to different types of performance metrics. So this is great for students as they're just trying, getting their feet wet, taking a look at companies and trying to compare them to their peer universe. Another popular report is GREV. So what this is going to show is geographical revenue exposure for the company. This is very, popular, especially today with, tariffs and everything like that. So understanding that Boeing has a 13.2% revenue exposure to China, can lead to a lot of, information, and I see a lot of professors, integrating this, or students find this very interesting as well. Something else that's really interesting when sort of trying to, understand a company's exposure, not only geographically, but taking a look at who are the biggest suppliers, customers, and partners for that company. So we do have this supply chain, which is used often as well to take a look at, what are the relationships that are going to be impacting that company, and, how relevant are they? So how strong is that relationship? We do order them from highest to lowest. So basically the, competitors, or I'm sorry, the suppliers or customers that we deem as, most strategically important to that company. So those are some of the more unique reports. I want to dive into some of the more fundamental reports we have as well.
Before we go on, Emily, we do have a question. Can we access the historical data of financial ratios of companies? I'm going to unmute Fabio in case you want to add anything to the question.
Oh, hello. Thank you very much. Yes, I used in my course in investments here in Geneva. We follow a lot the performance of companies, and it's always difficult to find historical data for financial ratios, price to earnings, price to book value, return on equities. With this new database, would it be possible to access to this historical data?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question. So taking a look at some of our more fundamental data, such as ratios, for example, if I expand this financials along the left-hand side, you'll see we have this ratio analysis report.
Oh, that's great.
Yep, exactly. So this is another really commonly used report amongst professors.
Exactly.
Perfect. And you'll see up top here, we can again use those drop-down arrows. Right now we're looking at 10 periods, but we could even hit 20 periods, and that's going to take us even further back in history. So you'll see we have all these ratios now going back. Right now we're looking at years, but you could do quarters or anything like that.
Okay, and you can download this in an Excel spreadsheet.
Exactly, yep. So we can click on that green downward-facing arrow to click download, and then we can do Excel.
Oh, that's great.
Perfect. Yeah, so we do have this ratio report, which, again, like I said, is really popular. In addition, we do have the different financial statements broken out. So something like the, just the income statement, being able to dive in here. Something that is also popular is being able to audit these values. So again, I mentioned those hyperlinks is going to indicate more information. So if I click, and I'll show you again what I did because it went quick. But if I click on any value, it'll actually pull up the underlying, 10K in this instance, and it'll highlight, here's that 101,127, here's where that value is exactly coming from. So being able to audit directly to the underlying filing, again, is just as simple as clicking on the hyperlinked value right in here.
Okay. Oh, that's great stuff.
Yeah. It's a big time saver.
It changes a lot of this research. We used to go through different websites and free websites now because it's more complicated to access to the subscription. And this is going to solve a lot of our problems in class and give a lot of leeway, opportunities for students to develop case studies and active work.
Oh, good. Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, this is definitely a time saver when trying to audit values.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I'll show you estimates. If you come in, again, I'm going to expand this little category on the left-hand side here. We're going to take a look. We have different types of estimates, reports. We do have something called the Broker Outlook. This is going to just give you an understanding of, what the mean estimate for a specific line item is. And I also want to explain why we get this question a lot, why you see this, like, red mark here. So just to take a step back here, again, we're going to look at those drop-downs along the top. So we're looking right now at what the EPS June 19 Q2 estimate is, and we have the mean here as 1.73. So what you have here is basically you have the ability to look at who is making the estimate and what it is, as well as what that mean value is. The reason that you see the red X through the report is what you don't have access to is going to be opening up that underlying report. So you won't be able to actually open up Jeffrey's report, research report on this. The reason being is they don't want they're strict on their research being redistributed. So unless you have a relationship with that broker, you're not going to be able to access the underlying report. That being said, you are still able to see all the values and what the mean value is as well. Something that students like is the targets and ratings report because it's very visual. So it basically is meant to show you where does the street think the company's going. So right now we have, green is going to be buys, we have yellow is going to be hold, and red is going to be sell. So, over time, are we seeing a lot more green or a lot more red? So in this case, not a lot of red for Boeing, but that's another one that students like, again, for that visual. We do have ownership information. So if I expand ownership, we can come in here and look at the ownership summary. We see we have, who are the top 15 institutions, and we're also looking at who are the top insiders. Again, hyperlinks always going to mean more information. So if I click on Gregory Smith here, for example, how has his position changed in Boeing over time? So we'll see, has he increased his shares, decreased? We can see that by this green highlighted shaded area right here. So there's a lot more. Again, you can you can manipulate the report by using the drop-down arrows up here. For example, if you only wanted to look at mutual funds and ETFs. If you expand this activism management and board, we do have other information, on activism, who comprises the management and board, and as well as a corporate governance profile. So this sometimes, depending on the course, can be utilized in different ways as well. Taking a look at different activist metrics and, what is the vulnerability and everything like that. The last report I will show is going to be return analysis. So this is going to be located under prices. And the reason this one's popular is because it allows you to quickly see the total return of the company you're interested in for any date range. So, for example, we have year-to-date set right now, but you could do a custom date right in here if maybe someone bought 3 months ago and they want to see the total return from that exact purchase date, or just to get a better understanding of, how Boeing has done, for example, over the past 5 years. We have here the total return as well as the price change. We have it compared to the S&P 500, but you could also change that. You could put in a different company, for example. If I click this comps button up top, you'll see I'd be able to uncheck S&P, and it would go away. And I could come in here and add an additional company if I wanted as well. So that's nice, especially if students are, in charge of making a presentation or pitching a stock. For example, this is a popular report that we'll see them download. So that's company security. I kind of went heavy into an equity just to quickly show you. You can, for example, put in a bond or an ETF. I mentioned that as well. And you'll see the reports along the left-hand side are going to change based on the asset class that I put in there. So I put in a bond. You'll see information, we have security overview, we have ratings information, and different types of data sets depending on the asset class that we're investigating, of course. So that's just to point out that while we see it most heavily used for equities, you can come in here and take a look at different asset classes as well. So I'll just load in an ETF. You'll see now we're looking at something like a fund profile on that ETF. A lot of the reports will be similar. See, for example, we still have that return analysis report. We still have that GeoRev that we took a look at, but some will be different as well. So that's company security, probably our most heavily used tab amongst students. And now what I'll do is, well, there we go, is I'm going to switch into quickly filings, just because I did sort of mention, I showed you, how we could audit a specific value.
I have one more question. I'm going to just take Fabio off mute because good question. Is it possible to select ETFs by category?
Yes, Emily, sorry for making a lot of questions, but your presentation is so exciting for me. Because we use this in class during 6 months. One of the courses of investment in Geneva is to manage a portfolio of ETFs, and the students, they have to screen ETFs by categories, which means countries, commodities, futures on Forex. So there is any tool to screen ETFs on FactSet?
Yeah, so something I do see looked at is we do have, see this, if I come into this, I went into the markets and then I expanded ETFs. We have this, we can group it by
Issuer? Yeah.
Segment, something like this. Is that what you were referring to?
Yes, for example, if I want to select an ETF for a technology sector, some websites, if you put ETF technology, so the system is going to screen all ETFs provided by different issuers in financial institutions related to technology sector in US, technology sector in Europe. So I don't know if this tool allows us to do this automatically.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great segue. So we do have our screening tool. So if you see, and this is definitely a popular tool amongst professors. So if you come into screening here, you'll see we have different categories, so equity, ETF, debt, activism, and bank. So for example, you could click on ETF. What we have here, these are going to be pre-built screens, so these are, popular requests and kind of are really easy for students to just take a look. So, if you just opened one up, I'll just show you what one looks like. Basically, we have up top is, where you're defining your universe, where you're choosing your criteria. So here we're looking at large cap, and then down here we have all of our results. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. So we do find screening. Awesome. Yeah. So we do find screening. Professors utilize it a lot, and we have some great screening is a really good one to have students watch the e-learnings on to then be able to practice, because this is a pre-built one, but we could also you could also, if I press starter screen, this is going to be we're just starting blank, so students can really manipulate however they would like. So we do have two different types of screening tools. So we have this screening tool, which I showed you, which you can use for ETF, equity, and debt as well. And this is really just saying, how can I drill down on a certain universe based on criteria, whether they be financial metrics or, maybe some price change metrics, anything like that. In addition, we have our idea screening. The difference here is idea screening is going to allow you to look at M&A, IPOs, mergers, and that type of, data. It's going to be, again, very easy to manipulate and use. I'll just show you, for example, what a screen would look like. So if I come in here and say you wanted to do, a merger screen, so you just, simply press start the screen. It's going to look a tiny bit different, but everything is simply drag and drop. You don't need to know any underlying codes or anything like that. Students typically pick this up very quickly. You'll see here we have it all laid out, what's the announcement date. Maybe you want to limit by transaction value. You know, maybe you only want to look at acquisition and merger. You know, something that's complete. You get the picture. You're allowed to manipulate these. If you don't care about one of these, you simply exit out. You drill down to whatever merger and acquisition you're interested in, and then simply press View, and it's going to generate all those results. So again, just those two screening tools, and just based on the different type of content you want to screen down on, it will define which tool you use.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just touch on a couple more tabs. Those are kind of like our biggest ones, screening and company security for our academic purposes. I will point out the Filings tab. This is going to allow you to take a look in all filings and kind of manipulate, again, using these drop-down arrows if you wanted to specify a specific filing, or what we see a lot of times is maybe using a keyword search to blast across all previous filings. If you wanted to pull out something like, you know, autonomous vehicle or something like that, it would search through all the filings and be able to pull when that language was, when that word was used. So that's going to be our filings. Let's see, did I do screen? I will touch on industry as well. So let's stick with Boeing. So industry, what we're going to do.
Sorry,
yeah.
Just one question about the industry. It's possible to screen the leading sectors by quarter, for example. If you want to develop a portfolio following what's called the sector rotation. So every quarter, so the market is going to readjust following the earnings of companies, and some sectors are going to take the leadership on the S&P. So my question is, there is any screen tool that makes possible to select the leading sectors by quarter? So which sectors are performing better than the others, and even compared to the benchmark, which means the S&P 500?
Sure. Yeah. So I would think for that, let me just see. That's definitely something. If it's not pre-built, like that would be like we could work together to set that up, but I just want to see if we have that. All right. Yeah. So for example, my first thought about that, being able to see how different sectors have done, is I actually went to the company security tab and I typed in S&P 500. And by going to the breakdown report, I can see the different sectors. So we have like energy. Yep. And you'll. Great. And you'll see we have month-to-date change, year-to-date change. You can always press this green plus button to add more columns and take a look at, you know, maybe there's other performance metrics that you wanted to take a look at.
Oh, that's great. Perfect. Wow. This is marvelous.
Oh, good. That's great.
Because we do everything with this almost manually, going website by website. This is going just to simplify our task in class a lot. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, that's excellent to hear. That's what we're here for. So, so typing in the S&P 500 into company security is going to be one way to look at it. And then also in this industry tab, this is going to be based on FactSet defined sectors and industries. So you can type in a company, or you could use this magnifying glass, for example, to come in here and take a look at all, again, this is going to be global in scope. So you'll see, here we have Asia, chemicals, agriculture. As you keep scrolling down, you'll see the region along the right-hand side, or you could use our keyword search as well. But what we have here is this is going to be just an aggregate view. We do tell you, who are we including, like who are the constituents in this sector that we're defining, who's involved, what are the performance metrics for this industry as a whole, as well as financials and estimates. So something like that ratio analysis report that we touched on before is also going to be available on industry level. Great. So those are kind of the last tab I actually will touch on is just calendar. This is going to allow you to take a look at maybe upcoming earnings calls for the company. You'll see here I just clicked on earnings calls, as well as be able to come in here and search through transcripts as well. So I have all companies in here up top, but we could simply limit down to a specific company as well. And again, take a look at when is Apple's next earnings call, for example. And then down here you'll see we have all the transcripts that you could open up and take a look at, and with the audio, or sometimes they don't have audio, but you can click on the report itself, and it'll open, and you could come in here and take a look at that transcript.
Okay, great. I'm seeing your menu. You have a watch list. This is provided to students the opportunity to create a watch list of stocks, or just the professor has access. How does it work?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So in this Watchlist tab, this allows you to make your own list of companies that you're following. So for example, I'll just show you how I'd make a quick one. If I come up here, I would type in an identifier. So I've, Apple and Facebook here. So you could make your list, however long it might be. And what this allows you to do is save it. So if I click this arrow, this folder, I do save as, I would give it a name. Now here's an important thing to note is you'll see along the left-hand side here we have client and personal. So client is going to be able to be accessed by anyone at your university. So if you had a class, for example, that you made a group of securities, a watch list for them, you would want to save it in client, and then they would be able to access it on their own FactSet.
Okay.
If you just want it for you, you would put it in your personal.
Okay. And the students will be able as well to create a personal account, or just professor?
Can you say that again?
The students will be able to create a personal account, or only professor, and they will have to consult with the entire class?
Great question. Student also has a personal directory, so they could create their own as well.
Okay. Great.
Yep. So let's see. Those are really the main things. A couple other things I just want to touch on is this magnifying glass in the upper left-hand corner. This is going to be great when you're not sure where to go. So, FactSet has a lot of information, and so, where can I find it? This magnifying glass works great in that way. For example, if you wanted to know Apple's dividend, it kind of works like a Google search where it kind of scans across all of our data sets. And if I typed in Apple Div, you'll see here we have information on the dividend yield, and then we have a hyperlink. By clicking on the hyperlink, it's going to bring you to the report where that underlying information is. So that's helpful for students when they're totally lost or not sure where to start. If you say, you want information on USA GDP, start by typing it in there. Again, click on the hyperlink. It's going to bring you into the economics tab and show you all the information on, United States GDP. So that magnifying glass is a great place to start. And then we have this plus icon here. That's going to just be to add a tab. And what I mean by tab is these items here are all what we deem as tabs. So screening would be a tab. So for example, if I click this plus button and I click activism governance, that's going to add in an activism governance tab with a little bit more in-depth information on activism and governance.
And Emily, that will add a tab to only your account? Okay.
Exactly. Yep. So that would just add a tab to your specific FactSet. Another question I get often is saving. So, students will say, do I have to save, or how do I? You don't. It's actually saving in real time. So if I closed out of this and reopen, it's going to look the same. So no problem. You don't have to. There is no save button. The only thing you would have to save is if you created a watch list, and I showed you how to do that. But everything else is going to be saving in real time.
Oh, great.
And lastly, just this wrench icon settings. You or students really wouldn't need to come in here for any reason. The only reason you might want to is sometimes I'll get a student or a professor say, I came in here, I messed up, I added tabs, I by accidentally, maybe came in here and deleted a tab, which you can do kind of simply, and they say, how do I just get back to the very beginning before I made any changes? And that would be through this wrench icon here. So if you click the wrench icon, you'll see there's a reset tabs button.
Okay.
And that would just get you back to normal if you kind of have a lot. So yeah, and then lastly, we do have our certification program. So we do offer sort of a FactSet core certification, which covers, equities, fixed income, and markets. And that's a great way to get students up to speed or you up to speed. We have a lot of our institutional clients take the certification. We have our core, and then we do have some that specialize in a certain product. So if you planned on using screening a lot in your course, you could assign the FactSet certification to your students. It takes about an hour and a half, if that. And basically, it's just some e-learnings and some questions, but that helps them get up to speed on the product. And we do see a lot of professors assigning the certification as well.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think we need to do this before going through the whole system. Yeah, there is a lot of information. When I have a lot of information, the risk is to get lost at the end.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm going to use this a lot in my course, which by the way started by August. So I'm going to see how to organize this. I will take a FactSet certification myself before to be able to. And this certification takes how long to professors?
I can send you, we have like a information thing on the certifications, and it provides you the links and the time it takes for everything, so I can definitely pass that along. And like I said before, if you want to set up additional time to sit, maybe look at your curriculum specifically and figure out the best ways to integrate it, I'm happy to do that with you or any professor at the school as well.
Okay, good. Great, that's a good idea. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I missed the five first minutes. How do I get the access to the FactSet? I was trying to find it in the Webster website. I don't. Maybe Sharon can help me.
Yeah, I was sent an access point, and
good.
I don't know whether all the professors are added to the system yet.
All you need to do, but each person is going to have to register for an account separately, Fabio. So if you go to the library website, click on Articles and Databases, then use the pull-down menu on Know the Database you want, and select FactSet. It will take you to a page for you to register for your account.
Okay.
And that's going to take it could take up to 4 to 5 business days.
Okay, no, I have time. Don't worry. I'll be in vacation now.
Okay, so they're going to check your credentials, but you must use your Webster University email address, and that includes the email address specific to Geneva. So you're okay with that?
The .ch has worked. Okay.
Yes. So we've cleared those.
All right.
And then when you want to use it with your students, we're working on setting up what's called a bulk registration, so that you register all your students using a document, and then you can send that to FactSet, and they will set up all of those at once.
That's great. Okay.
Okay.
I imagine Sharon will be my contact here, no, Sharon?
Yes.
My angel is helping. Good. Okay, great. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Emily?
I think I'm I'm okay, and I'm very surprised, and it's a great improvement for investment course and portfolio management course in Webster over any school, because FactSet is a recognized source for professionals. So, and we have a lot of information, a lot of interesting information, and for students, but because if they are going to be working in a financial institution in investment, you'll be in touch with this type of tools. So it's really great stuff for the school, for the students, and for professors, because it helps us a lot to organize our course. My course is very practical in terms of portfolio management, and we spend a lot of time using different free websites to get to assemble different sources of data, and here we have everything together, which is like a dream.
So forward to department heads.
Well, excellent. You know, that's definitely great feedback to hear, and that's, you know, definitely our whole purpose and goal. So if there's anything I can do to help make this more seamless for you guys at all, definitely let me know, and I'm happy to do so.
Thank you, Emily. I was going to say, this is Holly. I'm the nursing and healthcare liaison, and I'm excited about this, and I don't even understand what you all are talking about half the time. Really cool. And I'm so grateful to Liz and David and the St. Louis faculty that took a lot of time to evaluate these products and get us something this good.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yes. Great.
That's a really great to do. Thank you very much, Emily.
Yeah, we're excited to partner with you guys. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Session, we'll go ahead and process it and send it out.
All right, great.
Anything else? Nope, that's it. Okay. Well, thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for organizing this session. And thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, you're quite welcome.
And we will have more sessions, so.
Great.